Alright, so this is going to be my review of 20 Million Miles More, the first of the Ray Harryhausen Presents title from Blue Water. Now, for those who don't know what that is, Ray Harryhausen Presents, he made a deal to give away, to help write, and as well as give a lot of story plots to Blue Water Comics to do comic book sequels to a lot of his classic movies, like 20 Million Miles to Earth, It Came from Beneath the Sea, Clash of the Titans before, the movie, and its sequel, which, funny enough, has the same name of Wrath of the Titans, same as that other one, and as well as Sinbad and a few others. And this was the first of the Ray Harryhausen Presents line. The direct sequel to 20 Million Miles to Earth, 20 Million Miles More. And dear Lord, is it trippy. If you've ever seen 20 Million Miles to Earth, you would know the story. Group of astronauts crash land in Spain. They've brought back some kind of creature with them they call the Ymir, and the creature breaks out in Rome, fights an elephant, and dies in the Colosseum. That's the story. In here, it adds a lot more, but here's the thing. It does a lot of show, but no tell. That's the biggest crippling problem with this comic, is that it does a lot of show, and it has some really cool ideas involving the Ymir and what kind of transport aspired to lead up to 20 Million Miles to Earth. But in the end, it just doesn't do anything. It has all these really cool ideas, but it doesn't go anywhere with them. And that's kind of crippling. Now, the story is that this is set 50 years after 20 Million Miles to Earth, obviously, because this comic book was released the 50th anniversary of 20 Million Miles to Earth. So I like that, they're keeping a sequel in it, and still, it's not really a reboot. It's more of like something like we would do these days. It's a sequel, but it exists in this timeline, and it's just called it was covered up, saying that it was just a mad circus elephant. I like that little reference, and that killed all those people, and the Ymir was never found. Now, the Ymir are actually, I'm going to spoil a lot in this comic, so be warned. It's revealed in here that the Ymir were these race of creatures on ancient civilization of Venus that tried to, after they more or less killed them, more or less killed their civilization, several of them flew down to Earth to hyper-evolve cavemen and make them into their servants. Apparently, it didn't go so well, and the people of the Ymir on their homeworld of Venus actually de-evolved into the mindless creatures we see today. And in fact, the creature we saw in the movie was more or less, it was supposed to be super intelligent, but thanks to the oxygen, and apparently it suffered brain damage from the crash, it became the rampaging monster we saw. So, in here now, this is a really cool idea of delving into a very you'd think this would be like a better version of Prometheus, but here's the problem. They do, again, like I brought up earlier, they do a lot of show, but no tell. So, this revolves around a government cover-up led by this guy called, I can't remember his name, but I'll just call him the Colonel. This Colonel is a total asshole who's very much like, I don't care who I hurt as long as I get what I want, and I'll enjoy hurting people doing it. And he's not like the stereotyped, oh, I'm the all-American badass, America's the greatest thing ever, and I'll destroy everything that isn't American. No, he's just an asshole. That's the thing. And he's actually working for a private sector rather than the government. Now, the big thing is that they introduce a new character named Lita, and Lita is this girl with psychic powers who has connections to the Ymir, and they treat her like total crap. And she also has a connection to this computer program called Harry. Why? We don't know. They never tell us. And why does Harry look like a old man, like the older version of that robot android sidekick that Lando had in Star Wars Episode 5? Again, we don't know. But yeah, and then it kind of goes in this whole thing of they introduce this other woman named Brenda, who actually, after inhaling some kind of weird toxin on a hike, she actually turns into a Ymir and starts killing people. And the government says, yeah, and not only that, Brenda and Lita are clones of the same woman and the wife of the captain from the first movie, the surviving member of the crew from the first movie. Yeah, just keep this all in check, because do they explain it? Hell to the no. They don't explain it all. And is it confusing you? Well, trust me, it confused me too. Yeah. So again, it's really trippy, but I do like the whole world building of the Ymir and their it kind of alludes to their rise and fall. But the major crippling problem with this comic is that it does a lot of, it just throws you in here without a little explanation in this story. And yeah, I mean, when we see the her turn into the Ymir, when we see this Brenda turn into the Ymir and go on a rampage in Hollywood, it's actually kind of a cool scene. But yeah, and also again, seeing the world building of the Ymir themselves is pretty awesome as well. But again, it falls into that trap of they don't even explain why Lita and Brenda and the captain, I can't remember his name, but his wife are all not clones of the same woman. And they just say, oh, well, we just need her genetic material. Why did you need her genetic material? Why her, of all people? And again, the whole thing is that why the government wants to go to Venus again is because there's this weird pink goo that they don't specify why they want it. They just say it's made from... It can create this weird metal, and they don't specify why they want this metal or the pink goo. They just say, oh, we want it, and if anything gets in our way, we'll kill them too. We also see the kid Pepe from the first movie in here. He makes a cameo in the first part of the comic as like this relic hunter, and he kills a college student. Why? Because he's like, well, I saw these creatures when I was younger, and I found their secret temple. I'm gonna claim it, not you, and kills them. Yeah. So there aren't really a lot of characters, as you can tell, there aren't any characters you can really gravitate towards, because really all the good ones just show up, they exposit stuff, and then get killed. Yeah. As you can tell, I wasn't too enthralled with this comic. You guys can clearly tell, because there's clearly a lot of good ideas. I really like the idea of giving a sequel to a science fiction movie that was 50 years ago, and giving it, a very, like I was hoping for a better version of Prometheus. And trust me, it's a little more better put together than Prometheus was, I'll say that much. But yeah, that's not saying much in comparison, though. But anyway, I do like the idea of having, I want to read the others, because I understand that the other ones, the other sequel comics to his movies were a lot better than the are also pretty good, but after reading this, I'm kind of a little hesitant to go out and look for them, because they're apparently hard to find. Yeah, they're a little hard to find, because Blue Water ain't exactly the biggest comic book company. So, yeah, on the other hand, it's not a bad comic book, and I would only recommend this if you're a diehard Ray Harryhausen fan, and you really like to see the world building, but the human characters are just either unlikable, or, they're just one-dimensional. The monster stuff is interesting, but it doesn't really hold up, and again, it just leaves so much unexplained. So yeah, that's pretty much my review of 20 Million Miles More, and yeah, hope you all enjoyed this, and I will see you guys later.